Hello, world. This is your girl Peaches, and I'm back. I hope y'all been good to yourself and better to your health. This is 2022, so let's continue to make those things happen, all right? Let's go on and get into it. So, now I had just posted a video um, talking about Jim Jones and how his mom taught him how to tongue kiss. And so now, honey, you got Jada Pickett coming out talking about, my grandma taught me how to self-please myself at the age of 9. Baby, look, at the age of 9, come on now. So it was funny because when she was telling her story, her daughter was looking at her like trying to hold all type of facial expressions, but it definitely was showing. And then the mom was even looking, kind of red-eyed, teary-eyed, and probably was feeling some type of way because as she was sharing her story, she talked about how, her grandma didn't want her to think that that pleasure came from a man and how she wanted her to be in control of her body. But since she did start that at a young age, it became a habit. To the point to where at the age of 21, by the time she was 21, she was using all kind of toys to sexually please herself. And she was to the point to where she was giving her own self 5 orgasms a day and all of this crazy mess, right? And so it was interesting to see how, even though Jada Pickett's grandmother taught her how to self-please herself, literally play with herself and give herself an orgasm at the age of 5 now, okay? The same grandmother did not teach her own daughter that, which is Jada Pickett's mother. What Jada Pickett's grandmother had taught her mother was sex was bad. You're a young lady. This is not what you do. It's nothing that, made it felt like it was something dirty. You don't get pleasure from it. But from a man's point of perspective, that's what he does. He puts it down. He lays it down. He can have a sexual orgasm. He can feel sexy, right? So, and then the daughter, of course, we know how they didn't raise their children. She didn't allow her son to spend the night over people's house, and I definitely can agree with that part of it, right? And so, but at the same time, you emancipated him at the age of 15, talking about, I think he's ready to be on his own. I think I'm speechless, right? Very speechless. I feel that many of us have been taught wrong or have been taught too early. Sometimes things said to children, especially because you got to think, if a child has not been manipulated, touched, hurt, harmed, and they've been in a loving environment, they are still a child of God's. And so they're still going to have pure thoughts. They're still going to be innocent in nature and heart and mind and thought. And so what affects their subconscious is going to play out in their conscious and in their thinking, and then eventually in their reality, in their actions. So the conversation pretty much is basically, how are we raising our children? What are we teaching our children? What's age appropriate for our children as we go along this journey of teaching our children? And I'm going to try to make this really quick because I do have somewhere to go as I'm sitting in this car. I'm just waiting and passing time. But I'm not here to condemn anyone or say what is wrong, because what's wrong and what's right doesn't make something wrong or right to the next man, to the next nationality, ethnicity, to the next culture, to the next country. Just because one way of doing something may be odd to the next person, it could be obviously totally normal to someone else. But in a way, it was kind of disturbing because it made me think about my own childhood and being a kid and how thoughts act upon things and things of that sort. So for her to say that, her grandma at the age of 9 taught her how to sexually please herself, but it was only her that she taught. It wasn't her own daughter. It was her granddaughter. It wasn't her great-granddaughter. Why her and why now, right? So I just think that, like, for me personally, I try to raise my children age appropriately. That's how I was raised. That's how my aunt, God rest her soul, I love her to death, my aunt Diane. That's how she raised me, to be age appropriate. You know, it was certain things as a young lady, as a young girl, we could not do. We could not read, we could not watch, we could not wear until a certain point of time in life. Why is that? Because children are only children for literally a little point of time in life, and we want to preserve their innocence as long as possible. There's so much negativity in the world. Negativity comes fast and swift, and because it comes fast and swift, more of a reason why we have to double up, double down, triple down on positive things that we expose our children to. Now, I'm all for the birds and bees. Like I said in my last video, go back and watch that about Jim Jones and how his mom taught him how to kiss. I'm all for the birds and bees, but I also think that because of nowadays, right, and it also is because of timing too, right? Timing has to play a part of it. Timing back then was different, but now because we know better, we do better, right? So when they're younger, me personally, I have two boys, and regardless if they're boys or girls, it don't matter. They can be touched, whether it's siblings touching siblings, whether it's other children touching children, whether it's adult touching children, everyone can be violated. So I think when they're young, to the point they come of age, I would probably say about 3 o'clock, about age of 3, we would probably want to teach them that, hey, your body is precious, right? We want to start letting them know, like, because they're going to start recognizing stuff, especially little boys. Little boys have a tendency to, when they get about Curious George too, they're like pulling on things like, hey, what is this? So we teach them that our body is sacred and love, and we don't allow anyone to touch our body, or we don't allow anyone to make them feel uncomfortable. That's what at least I taught my children, right? And so I don't believe in spending the night at nobody's house, because I remember being a child, everybody's parent is not going to parent like your parent. So what you may allow, the next parent won't, and what you don't allow, the next parent probably will. I'm that type of parent. I'm old school, even though I'm young. I am very strict. I'm going to make sure that all children are safe, and because I know how people are, I am going to be aware of certain things, and I'm going to make sure that everyone is safe and comfortable, and nothing, at least from what I can handle, is going to go down. I teach my children the same thing. I reiterate things. Even as them getting older now, I still reiterate a lot of things, okay? And so, teaching them, I teach my children about everything. And sex, when it comes to sex and things of that sort, my 11-year-old, I still teach him, because he, been having girlfriends since 2, so I teach him, okay, there's levels to this, right? Because when he first came to me, it was a few years ago, and so he was like, Mom, da, 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 da. And so real light went off, like, hold on, so I had to let him know then, like, okay, you're in 3rd grade, there's levels to this, and that may look different to you right now. So, for example, I was telling him when he was back in 3rd, 4th grade, I said, because he was like, Mom, how do you know a girl likes you or whatnot? And so I'm looking, and so I was like, okay, well, there's levels to this. So you're in 3rd, 4th grade, or whatever grade he was in at that time. I think it was 4th. And so I said, she may do little things like hit and run. She may take your things. She, and tease you with it, act like she doesn't want to give it back. She may, just want you to hurt her books, or she's always around you, or that she's always sitting next to you. And I would just give him different instances. And he was like, oh my gosh, Mom, oh my gosh. This girl at my school, she does all of that. So now that he's in 6th grade, still with girlfriends, I let him know, like, hey, the terminology is pretty much she's a girl and she's your friend. So that's why people say girlfriends, right? And so I asked him questions, well, what makes her your girlfriend? What do y'all do? What do you like about it? This, that, and the other, to try to get some insight and things of that story. And I remind him what a gentleman looks like. And then, of course, they're in school. So obviously, it's just a school relationship. And so I remind him, hey, there's no hugging, there's no kissing in school. There's other ways you can display genuine agape love by being nice, by saying good morning, by maybe, since they don't carry books anymore, you could probably carry her laptop, or just talk and get to know her. Sit down at lunch, you may want to carry her tray, things of that sort. So there's level to this, right? My oldest one, he's obviously into girls, stuff like that. So I know both of my children are heterosexual. They're into girls. And so I remind him, because my son is very tall for his age, very handsome. Okay, don't play. God made no mistakes when they created them. And so I remind him rather, that he's a young man. Respect yourself first. A young lady, if she's a young lady, she'll respect herself, you respect her, and then obviously, you know what I'm saying, because I know it's going to happen, sex, right? And so because he's at the age, sweet 16, the conversation is different. There's levels to this, right? This is how I'm raising my children. It has nothing to do with nobody else. This is how I'm raising my children. You can take some pointers if you want, or if not, you can forward this message and allow someone else to take those pointers, okay? And make sure you tell them to like and subscribe, and comment down in the comment section about which pointers they were able to incorporate into their life, and as far as raising their children. But so, like, I tell him about, okay, so if you're going to have sex, obviously protected, there are STDs, there's babies, and not just that, but females some are emotionally unstable, some have had previous sexual experiences, and so not just with the actual act, you actually have what you call spiritual ties, soul ties to these different people that you have allowed to enter your spirit. Mental, emotional, like it's all attached, right? Noticing unhealthy behavior, unhealthy mental state. It's all of that. So this is what I'm teaching my children. Not only that, like, sex is not a main priority in my home, but I also teach them about life. When I'm going through things, I use my experiences as blueprints to teach them, and how it correlates, how everything in the Bible has a story about what we're going on. So that's another blueprint that they can use. Not just that, but I teach them about money. Especially with being young Black men, they would not be a disadvantage when it comes to money. They will not. I teach them about microeconomics and macroeconomics, and how this world works, and businesses. I have multiple businesses. Their dad is business savvy, so I definitely get on their dad about teaching them about everything that they know. I teach them about the God within. I teach them about working for thyself. So it's so much more. I teach them about love, but at the same time, I definitely show them examples of a healthy love and what a healthy love looks like, because we can't not just pass down a financial wealth to our children, but we have to pass down an agape love and healthy love, and an exhibit of what that looks like. Because let's just be honest, most men and women haven't seen what that looks like, and the ones that have know it, and they don't make no mistake when they are choosing. Okay, so yeah, it was just a little disturbing to hear that Jada Pickett, grandmother, had taught herself pleasure at the age of 9, when she didn't even teach her own daughter that, and she didn't even teach her own granddaughter that. And so why didn't she pass it down to her daughter? So I think sometimes we recognize things are too early, or we're too exposed to certain things. That's probably why she didn't teach it to her own daughter. But at the same time, the way she lived her life, it still exhibited that sexual explicit behavior, and that's probably why they are in love with everybody up under the moon. And it's okay to love everybody up under the moon, but to want a physical interaction with everybody up under the moon is a whole nother story. You don't want to be interacting your spirit with all these different folks, honey. But yeah, so I just want to hop on really quick and just address that situation. Like, wow, what are folks really teaching their children these days? And the ones that are teaching them, what are you teaching them? The ones that's not teaching them, you better start teaching them. Because I just had my mom's friend's son get upset at his dad, saying how he was bad when he was young. And, his mom didn't discipline him. His dad didn't discipline him when he acted up in school. And he actually regretted it. This young man who is a father now, actually said he regretted it. He actually wanted and wished his mother and his father gave him structure, disciplined him, and taught him something. Because now he's grown and having kids of his own and trying to figure it all out. And that ain't cool. So let's leave a legacy to our children, a healthy legacy, a legacy of love, a legacy of wealth, a legacy of self-attainment, a legacy of knowing the God within, and knowing what's age appropriate. Just because, I know a lot of people who have money and they allow their children to do whatever, give them whatever, and that's not good. You're setting your children up to failure. This is just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it. I hope you don't agree with it, so you can leave your comments in the section and then we can have a healthy dialogue about this. But allowing your kids to wear, for example, your little girls, allowing them to wear thongs and shop at Victoria's Secret at the age of 6, 7, 8, and 9 is no. Allowing them to wear stiletto heels, a heel thinner than my pinky, 6th, 7th, 8th, ninth grade, no. Allowing them to wear eyelashes and weave down their back and saying they're slaying, and posted them and saying how they slaying and half these grown bitchs, and they're only 12, 13, and 14. Couldn't be my daughter. She would be pretty, she would be beautiful, she would be appropriate. Allowing them to wear fire red. We could not wear fire red fingernail polish. And I was in middle school and I'd be begging my Aunt Diane because she, was the glamorous girl who wore the makeup and she did her nails, the color and all of that. And I'm like, but she would allow me to paint my nails. But when it came to the dark colors and the bright reds, no, because she told me that's not for a young lady. It's not age appropriate. Now, once you get to a certain age, then go for it. And I appreciate that. Sometimes, like, for example, I had told, one friend, because they give their niece everything. And I'm no harm at the time. The little girl was 5, and I just had made a comment. I'm like, at this rate, what is she going to look forward to at the age of 21? I'm talking about whatever she wants. We don't get it. And that's perfectly fine as well. Whatever she wants, you're going to get her at the age of 21. I'm sure by this time she should be getting it because you done taught her well. You still providing, you still being a handicap and a crutch. So let's not handicap our children. Let's not teach them not to be crutches to things in life. Let's teach them to think. Common sense is not common anymore. So as they're growing up, we have to teach them what's common and what's common sense. And we have to be repetitive, and we have to repeat until they get it. Being ghetto ain't cute all the time. Being ghetto is knowing that you can be ghetto in a certain situation, in a certain stances, but then sometimes in other situations, in other circumstances, we have to level up, we have to boss up. Knowing, like I teach my kid, there's a time and place for everything. I teach my children to handle business first so you can enjoy pleasure. Don't be one of those people that always want pleasure, then your business not handle. I know a lot of females like that. Guys, y'all beware. Y'all be surprised how many y'all wives out there screwing up y'all finances behind the door and shuffling things to make it look good so it don't catch up to them, but it ain't cool because there's no self-discipline. This is what I teach my children, self-discipline as well. Don't take anything out of balance. That's where sin can creep in. Wake up and give all your thanks and praise to the Holy Spirit, to the Most High, because that's who woke you up. It was His will, not yours. This is what I'm teaching my children, to be leaders and gods on this earth. I'm teaching them to be bankers. So what you have set for your child is perfectly fine, and what I have set for mine should be perfectly fine. Just know it makes a difference. Never talk down on no one's children. Never. I had people who done that to me, right? Life is in the power of the tongue. Death is in the power of the tongue. So I would not dare speak anything negative over children, especially if it has something to do with a daughter going on. And 95% of the time, I promise y'all, it be over a misunderstanding, thinking something is and that's not what it is. And instead of just slowing down to ask questions and things of that sort, people jump to the first negative thought, and you will be surprised what comes out of people's mouth when they're angry. Life tells you two things. Believe two types of people in this world. People who are angry when they speak, believe them, period. Like they say, period, okay? And people who are drunk, when they speak, believe them. Those type of two people, you can pretty much take it for 100% authenticity. And with that being said, let's make sure that we are raising our little girls as princesses and our little men as princesses to be until they become of age and they are queens and kings. And I can go further and further into this conversation. I can go more to detail and I can expand so much, but I'm going to say that for another video. And yeah, we're not going to be teaching our children self-pleasure, tongue kissing, taking it in the booty, none of that okay? At the age of 8, 9, and I don't care if it's up to 12. No. We can address sex, but we can address it in a healthier manner. We can help them realize things in a more educational way. And if it comes down to that, and if you know that, then we can address that to where we can find a real underlying issue for that, because everything just don't come out of anywhere. There's influence constantly. And so to address that, and so to move forward so it can be healthy. You don't want them growing up to be whoremongers and rapists and using sex to feel loved or beautiful. You know what I mean? Y'all get what I'm saying, right? I mean, is it making sense, or am I just talking crazy? Because the way this world is moving is definitely not moving for the majority of us to be in it. So with that being said, I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. Thank you, family, for continuing to support your girl. This is life, the real world. This is what we're here for, to talk about real world things. And until then, continue to be good to your health, better to yourself. Let's make it happen in 2022. And if you need help making it happen, just reach out. I am here. If there's anything you want me to discuss, let me know. I am here. I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. And until then, I'm out.